Hi, this is Ross Harrison from Precision Health and Fitness, and today I'm going to talk about the bodyweight squat. So the squat's one of the most commonly performed exercises. It uses a lot of different muscles. It's a great movement for a lot of different things. But as with all exercises, there's a lot of ways to do it wrong, and especially an exercise that uses a lot of different joints and a lot of different muscles, there's room for error. So first, I'm going to say this isn't how to do a squat for maximal strength or power or to be the best athlete. Today I'm going to teach how to squat for good health. So it's going to be a lot of awareness, alignment, posture, and then obviously making sure the right muscles are doing the right things throughout the movement. So the first place to start is feet. And you know, there are many different ways to do this. A lot of people squat with their feet turned out. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to say have your feet straight forward, about shoulder width or a little wider. If that position is uncomfortable, then obviously modify, turn your feet out just as much as you need to not have discomfort. But everybody should be able to stand with their toes pointing forward without pain. If that's an issue, there's probably something to look at in the lower legs and possibly hips or other things. But for now, we'll assume that that feels comfortable. And you basically want to be able to draw a straight line between hip, knee, ankle, and toe. So that line should be there throughout the movement. So if I'm going down and coming up, again, you can draw a straight line. One of the easy ways to make a squat, well, to cheat and make it easier, is when you're going down to have the knees come in. You will be able to lift more weight, whether it's a squat or a deadlift or whatever, but it's a bad idea. So keep the knees straight and keep everything in line. So going from the side, the first movement. So here's where people tend to run into problems. You think squat, people just sort of relax and let body weight take their body down. And when hips go down, there's a particular way they should move. So if you feel either hips going straight down or hips and knees going forward, again, that might be a stronger position to come out of, and a lot of people that's the natural position to go, but you want your hips to go backwards. It's the first thought, the first movement should be hips drop back. And if it's knees go forward, that means there's going to be a lot more stress on the knee than there should be. So again, variations may allow you to lift more weight, but if you're concerned with joint health, longevity, how you're going to feel 20, 30, 40 years from now, this is a good way to start to learn how to do it correctly. So in this position, everything's pretty stable. Like I feel weight evenly distributed through my feet. I still have hip, knee, ankle, foot alignment, all straightforward. Back is flat, there's no rounding, and again, if I was doing this with weight, if the weight was so heavy that it would pull me forward, too much weight for the sake of health. In this position, like everything is stable. I feel like the center of gravity is pretty much right over here. If, on the other hand, I would go forward and be in this position, the weight's really over my toes. A lot of times you'll see people's heels come off the ground. It will typically move the center of gravity way too far forward. There'll likely be more stress on the back. Just all around not a good way to do a movement in a healthy fashion. So from there, like for me, that's as low as I can go just from a hip standpoint. I can push a little bit, but at this point, different people are going to have much different ranges of motion, and a lot of that will be dependent on balance, stability, flexibility, strength, all kinds of different issues. So it's not about going to a certain depth, it's about being in control of the movement throughout the whole range of motion. The other big thing that people like to do is to sort of relax and let the body just fall where it wants, and then once they get to the bottom, then they contract their muscles and try to push back up. But the muscles should be controlling the motion both directions, both up and down. In the bottom position, you should be able to hold it and sit there, and then come up through the top. So, what muscles? Okay, pretty much everything's working from hips down. But when you're in the bottom position, it's a good idea to think contract from the glutes and hamstrings first, just because a lot of people don't use them enough. And there's a thing where everybody wants to use quads to do the whole movement, and especially if your weight's forward, the quads are going to be able to push more. So when doing it well, you get much more of a balance between the muscles, and connecting the glutes to the hamstrings and quads is a very healthy thing to do for all aspects of movement. So the bodyweight squat's a great place to practice that. Now, another issue is what happens when you get tired. So there's obviously, if your center of gravity changes, if your knees start going forward, all the things I've talked about, the knees coming in, those are all signs of getting tired. But another one, and this can be hard to see when you're doing it yourself, but it's easy to see if somebody's watching you, is the rate of movement between the joints. So when going forward, it's almost like there's a natural, if the knees bend a certain amount, the hips bend a certain amount, the angle of the back changes a certain amount. When people tend to get tired, one other thing often happens is the hips will go back and then they'll stop moving, but the back will keep moving. So there's that thought of, I need to get this low, but the legs have decided they're not strong enough to do it, and the hips just stop, but the motion keeps going. So the angle at the bottom ends up looking more like this than like that. It's a subtle difference, but the amount of stress it puts on the body is very different. There's a lot more back stress. And then of course when you're in that position at the bottom, the back has to do more work to pull up, and because if you just push straight through the legs, you end up like that, which also puts more stress on the back. So once you start noticing that your position at the bottom is different, or the rate of change in your joints is different, which likely will come a lot later with a lot more experience. So if you're just starting, don't necessarily worry about that. Definitely focus more on alignment. But that's a good thing to look at if you can. You put all that together, you've got a decent squat. So in a sense, it's a simple movement, and then obviously as you add weights, it will add a lot more stresses. There's compensations, like I spoke about earlier, watching sure your body doesn't move. There will be a lot more tendency to bend forward faster as the weights pull you forward. Also the bottom position becomes tougher. It'll be a lot more likely the knees will go together. So basically all the negative things that can happen, the possibility goes up a lot when you add weight. But that's a squat. Those are the basics of the squat. As I said sort of at the beginning, there are definitely things you can do different if you're trying to maximize strength, maybe not as concerned about joint health and some other things, but I like the focus to be health, so that's how I'm teaching the squat. And then of course when you get all the alignment stuff down and feel comfortable with the squat, this stuff carries over to so many different exercises and so many parts of life that it's well worth learning as soon as you can. So hope this works for you, and enjoy. Stay tuned for future videos.